Have you ever wondered why some people seem to grow wiser with age, while others never really become themselves? The answer may have nothing to do with intelligence or talent. It may begin the moment you're able to be alone, not isolated from people, but alone with your own mind. Let's explore why. Every person carries within themselves an image of who they could become. That ideal self has many stages, but it also has a highest point, a point of transcendence. To describe it, I'd like to borrow the words of the philosopher Merab Mamardashvili. He argued that as a person gradually becomes an independent individual, they inevitably discover a certain kind of solitude. This isn't the loneliness people usually think of. It's something much deeper. I'm quoting from memory rather than word for word, but the idea remains faithful to what he meant. Mamardashvili once explained that this solitude should never be understood as having no friends or no loved ones. Instead, it means that your deepest conversation is no longer with them. Your most important dialogue happens somewhere else. Borrowing a phrase from the poet Osip Mandelstam, whom he greatly admired, Mamardashvili said that this conversation is with a distant interlocutor, with the highest point toward which a human being reaches. Interestingly, he never called that presence God. He deliberately avoided that word. Perhaps for him, it represented nothing supernatural, but rather the highest form of human perfection. He even admitted that he had never experienced mystical ecstasy. With characteristic humility, he joked that, as a Georgian raised within the traditions of Georgian etiquette, dramatic mystical experiences simply weren't part of his temperament. So who was this distant conversation really with? In practice, it was with the great philosophers who came before him. He constantly reconstructed their ideas in his own thinking, bringing them back into the present as living conversations rather than historical texts. Psychologically speaking, this illustrates something important. The distance between who you are today and who you hope to become is the space where personal growth takes place. Without that distance, there is no movement. Without an ideal, there is nowhere to grow. Now let's turn to another thinker whose ideas help explain why this journey is often so difficult. Fritz Perls, the founder of Gestalt therapy, described several psychological mechanisms that can keep us from developing as independent individuals. We begin here because even taking the first step toward personal growth is far more difficult than it seems. To begin growing, a person must separate themselves from the larger social whole while continuing to live within it. They must recognize the boundary between themselves and the group. Only then can genuine dialogue with other people begin. Perls suggested 4 psychological mechanisms that often appear along this path. Each one acts as an obstacle. But these obstacles should not be treated as failures. They are simply psychological realities that need to be recognized before they can be overcome. The first mechanism Perls described is called confluence. This is a state in which a person cannot clearly distinguish between I and we. There is no psychological distance between their own thoughts and the expectations of those around them. Because of that, they struggle to recognize what they truly want. Their own desires become mixed with the desires of others until the difference almost disappears. If you cannot tell where you end and everyone else begins, it becomes nearly impossible to understand your own motivation. The second mechanism follows naturally from the first. Perls called it retroflexion. Here, a person turns impulses that originally belonged to others back onto themselves. At first glance, this may resemble personal responsibility. It can even look admirable. But it isn't genuine responsibility. Real responsibility requires knowing which thoughts and actions are actually yours. If you cannot separate your own intentions from someone else's expectations, then taking responsibility becomes little more than an illusion. You end up carrying burdens that were never truly your own. The third mechanism is known as introjection. This happens when a person accepts other people's beliefs, values, or desires without examining them. They become part of the personality almost automatically. There is no reflection, no questioning, no personal evaluation. As more borrowed ideas accumulate, less room remains for an authentic sense of self. Gradually, parts of one's own personality become unnecessary, not because they disappeared naturally, but because they were replaced by ideas that were never truly chosen. At first, these stages may seem like nothing more than a gradual decline. It can feel as though the personality is becoming weaker rather than stronger. And sometimes that is exactly what happens. But Perls encouraged us to see these patterns differently, not as reasons for self-criticism, but as realities that must first be recognized. Only what is recognized can eventually be transformed. Then comes the fourth mechanism. Paradoxically, this is where personal growth may finally begin. Perls called it projection. Projection means attributing our own qualities, motives, or emotions to other people. Psychology often treats projection as a defense mechanism, but Perls saw another possibility within it. When we notice in others what actually belongs to ourselves, we create an opportunity for examination. At first, that examination happens externally. We discuss what we see in someone else. But gradually, if we remain honest, the conversation turns inward. We begin asking whether the qualities we criticize, admire, or fear in others might also exist within us. That shift marks the beginning of genuine self-awareness. For both Fritz Perls and Carl Rogers, this is one reason group psychotherapy became so important. A group creates countless opportunities for projection. Every interaction becomes a mirror. Every disagreement reveals something. Every emotional reaction provides another chance to understand ourselves more clearly. In the end, personal growth does not begin when we become perfect. It begins when we create enough distance to see ourselves honestly. The distance between who we are today and who we hope to become is not a weakness. It is the very space where growth becomes possible.